More than 100,000 protesters flooded the streets of the capital, Belgrade, to participate in a planned major anti-corruption rally. Houthi rebels say at least 18 people were killed and 24 others were injured after U.S. President Donald Trump ordered airstrikes on Yemen. More than 100,000 Serbians protested in the capital, Belgrade, in a planned major anti-corruption rally. Protests erupted 4 months ago after a concrete awning collapsed at a train station in northern Serbia, killing 15 people. The weekend rally was dubbed 15 for 15, referring to the date of the protest and the number of victims. The crowds fell silent for 15 minutes to honor each of the victims. Many in Serbia blamed the awning collapse on rampant government corruption, negligence, and disrespect of construction safety regulations. Protesters are demanding officials responsible for this tragedy to be held to account. Serbia's President Aleksandar Vučić addressed the people shortly after the rally. The Serbian leader acknowledged the people's demands, noting that officials in power have to change themselves and learn a lot. Houthi rebels in Yemen say at least 18 civilians were killed and some 24 others were injured after U.S. President Donald Trump ordered airstrikes on the group's stronghold territories. Footage released by the U.S. Department of Defense showed fighter jets taking off from an aircraft carrier shortly after his announcement. The attacks mainly targeted the Yemeni capital Sana'a and the northwestern city of Sada. Trump says the attacks were a warning to the group of what's to come if they don't cease their attacks on shipping along a vital maritime corridor. The Iran-backed group said they would resume attacks on vessels sailing off Yemen after Israel's latest blockade on Gaza. Trump threatened to use overwhelming lethal force, noting that he will not permit terrorist groups from interfering with U.S. business operations and interests. The U.S. president also warned Iran against supporting the Houthis and others, promising to hold them fully accountable for the actions of their proxies.
Good morning, colleagues.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer calls Ukraine the party of peace and says Putin is trying to delay a ceasefire during a press conference which followed a virtual meeting with allies on Saturday. Starmer clarified what allies had discussed that morning.
We agreed we will keep increasing the pressure on Russia, keep the military aid flowing to Ukraine, and keep tightening the restrictions on Russia's economy to weaken Putin's war machine and bring him to the table.
During his virtual meeting, Starmer said Putin will sooner or later have to come to the table, calling allies to keep the pressure on Putin to back a ceasefire in Ukraine. On Thursday, allied militaries will meet in the UK to discuss what part they shall play in the peace deal and how they will guarantee Ukraine's future and security.
At least 32 people were killed as a massive storm system triggered tornadoes, wildfires, and heavy rains across the United States. Officials say the storm covers an area that is home to more than 100 million people in central and southern areas. 8 people were killed in Kansas after heavy winds produced blowing dust on a major highway, causing collisions of more than 50 vehicles. 6 people were killed and 3 were reported missing as the storms ripped through Mississippi, according to Governor Tate Reeves. At least 12 were killed in Missouri, which recorded the most fatalities from all affected states, as it suffered scattered twisters. A state of emergency was declared by governors of Mississippi, Georgia, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, who are bracing for even more severe conditions. The storms triggered more than 100 wildfires. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stills says blazes in his state burnt an area of almost 700 square kilometers.
Cuba was hit with a massive power outage on Friday night, leaving millions of people in the dark. The outage left 42% of the national energy system shut down, according to the Electric Union. Power outages are not unusual in Cuba and are primarily caused by fuel shortages and aging infrastructure. Authorities on the island have begun a program to install photovoltaic parks and promise that dozens of them will be ready this year.